Today I want to tell you about the habit of journaling, and not so much in the self-improvement approach, although I do use it for this purpose in many ways, but more about how to get into journaling. What are the different ways you can go about journaling, because there are very different approaches depending on what you want to get from it, and just how you feel about expressing yourself or learning about yourself in the process of journaling. Now, I do have a collection of a few journals that I've started to grow over the years. I'm currently at my 5th, and the great thing about journaling is that it allows you to record and remember a lot of things and memories and versions of yourself from the past. And I'm so lucky that I started journaling during my last year living with my parents. So that was, probably 4 years ago now. And when I read back those pages, I see myself in my parents' bedroom, writing on my desk, and just printing these memories on the pages. And the way I've been using journals for me, at first it was about documenting my days. At the end of the day, I would just sit down and talk about what I did, basically. That was just a way to record and remember that. But very naturally, I found myself craving grabbing a pen and opening my journal and just write about what was on my mind. Sometimes I was disappointed in myself for being a certain way or doing a certain thing, and so I would write down either how I feel, either my mistake, what I want to avoid doing next, or just a way to understand why I did that and how I can avoid doing that in the future. Sometimes I would surprise myself feeling a certain emotion, jealousy, anger, and I would also write about that. And I would start saying, today I felt like that because of this, and I don't like that I'm this way, I don't like the reason why, but I'd like to understand where that's coming from. And your journal is actually your own therapist. It helps you bring things out of yourself and put words onto emotions that you would otherwise just either take for granted or never really look straight in the eyes and try to understand why this emotion is here, where is it coming from, and how to go on and live with it or deal with it and try and remove it. There are, as I said, many ways to journal. You can either, just talk about your day and use it more as an, I don't know how you call that, like onboard journal, something that you can have either for work, for personal life. You can see it, back in the days when you had explorers that would sail to foreign lands, and they will just every day say what they did, what they discovered, the people they met, the new animals they encountered and all that. And I really liked this approach of documenting your life, the new things you learn, the new things you're practicing, the weekend you spent with friends, the lonely nights you've had by yourself, the early coffee in the morning, and writing down your plans for the day. This way is a great way to start journaling, I think, because it's not very intimidating. You don't have to open yourself up too much, and it's really more about documenting your life in a very practical way, rather than something that is a bit more introspective and a bit more emotional. The other way to journal, which I also do, is to write goals and affirmations. I like to write about how I want my life to look like, how I want to act in the future. Sometimes it starts from me feeling frustrated about something, and then trying to turn things around and have a vision of how my life and myself would look like had I acted in a different way, or if I draw a lesson from this, how can I turn this experience into a new way for myself to live my life and to avoid making these mistakes again. Sometimes it's just great also to use it and let things out. Either because you're excited about something, either because you have a business project, you're angry at someone, you're doubting yourself for certain things, and just write it down. Don't think that anyone else will read it. Don't expect to come to an answer straight away, but just the fact and the action of writing it down, letting things out, putting words onto your feelings, and closing the journal afterwards, it feels like you've left this moment behind. Sometimes I will start my day with goals, with plans, and very fast I start scrolling and browsing internet, and by the end of the morning I haven't done the work I wanted to do. And I will just write in my journal and complain about myself for not being serious with my job, and not to live up to the standards I put upon myself. And more often than not, the single fact of doing that helps me move on with my day. It feels like I'm leaving this version of me in the past. I've exteriorized my feelings, wrote it down on paper, and I've moved on to something else. The last way I like to journal, and it's something I would like to do more, and I think it would be the second best way for you to get into journaling if you're still a bit skeptical and you're a bit afraid of, letting your emotions come out. As I said, the best way to start is just document your day, but the second thing is use prompts or questions as the beginning for each entry, and then answer that question on the rest of the pages. And I'll read you a few questions that I've marked at the end of this journal. So what you can do is take a new journal and go at the end, and on the last few pages find online or on some videos some questions to ask yourself, and you just write them down. And so every day when you want to journal, you just look at the next question, you mark the day, the date, you ask the question again, and then you answer it. Some questions that I've been asking myself are things like, what would my life look like 5 years from now if I do not change anything? What are the 20% of things that get me 80% of the results I want? What can I subtract to my life that would help me get even more results and benefits? What does my dream day look like? This is a very nice one to start, I think. Just write down your perfect day. Where are you? What do you do? How do you feel? What your environment looks like? How do you dress? Who do you see in the mirror? What is the first thing you do when you get out of bed? What car do you drive? Where do you work? At what time do you come home? Do you have a family? Do you have a dog? Do you live in the countryside? Do you live in a penthouse in a big city? I think this is a great way to visualize your dream life and to have an actual goal that you can pursue, and it can really help you have more clarity over your future and what you want from life. The last one that I also really like is, what kind of work would I do for free if I had unlimited money? Imagine you're already a millionaire, or you have an unlimited amount of money, but you still have to do something from 9 a.m. to 6 or to 4, 5, 6 in the afternoon. You want to use your time to do something valuable, either for yourself, for the world. You want to create something, you want to build a project. What would that be? If money was not a concern, what would you do with your life? And sometimes you will just see the question and you will think for 5 minutes. And those 5 minutes of thinking would have never happened if you had never had this journal to start with. And then the writing process is also very important. You will learn a lot about yourself by doing it, and also reviewing what you wrote in the past is a great way to see how much you've changed. Maybe your ideal day today is absolutely not your ideal day that you will want to have 2 years from now. Who cares? because what you wrote today will give you direction for the following months, and then you can just update that. And sometimes I will just pick up an old journal and go through it, and it's a little walk on nostalgia lane, because you see yourself, as I said, when you were living at your parents'. You read things about holidays or weekends that you took and that you kind of forgot about. You see yourself complaining about this very same thing you did 3 years ago that you did on yesterday's page, and then you think, wow, I was complaining about being like that, and yesterday I was also complaining being like that. Maybe I did not evolve as much as I would have liked to. So I think this is such a great introspection tool. I think it is a great self-improvement tool. And at the same time, I think it's just a great hobby. I think it's an not so intimidating, creative outlet, where you can express yourself, you can put words onto emotions, and you can just try and crystallize thoughts and ideas and projects and feelings with words, with a pen and paper, and just have it somewhere. The last thing I'll leave you with is this, that there is a misconception that having a journal is like having a diary. Like when you are teenage girls, when they will talk about their crush and talk about, I hate my mother, blah blah blah. It doesn't have to be that, but at the same time it can still be very intimate and personal, and it doesn't have to be read by anyone. So do try and remove the pressure as much as you can. But at the same time, I write in my journal things that I wouldn't want my girlfriend or my friends to read right now, because some emotions are a bit fresh and I need to work on myself and on those things first before I can kind of talk about it openly. But at the same time, deep down, I know that I want to keep these journals for my kids to read one day. I even think about, putting a date. I've got dates on every single page, but I will even mark the cover maybe with the time period that the journal covers, and maybe just give them to my children when they will be at the exact same age that I was. So if there was a journal that I had when I was 19, then when they're 19 years old, I'll give them my journal and they can read it throughout the year at the right dates, and just see how I felt and who I was when I was their age, so they can see that maybe I'm not so different. Maybe the question they're asking themselves, I was asking myself at the same time. And I think it can create a connection that is very, very meaningful, and that just words can't do orally. If I just said, oh yeah, when I was your age, I also felt this and that. But them reading my own handwriting, saying these things, I think can create something even more beautiful. So I hope I gave you a lot of good reasons to start journaling and enjoy journaling even more, and understand how that can really help you in the long run and also in the short run. So if you liked this video, let me a comment, and especially if you have questions about journaling, I'll be very happy to help you out. So hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. See you guys.